So it's Motivational Monday here on Expresso, and we asked you on our Facebook page, Expresso Morning Show SABC3, what fears stop you from living your dreams? And before we introduce our motivational expert today, let me read some of your comments. Marisha Giovanni says the fear of failure and rejection are big ones for me. Bolondize Kabile says I fear being ridiculed by the world when I'm failing after trying. Andrea McKinnon says mine is trying to find hard to trust people because one minute they're your best friend and the next minute they dump you. And Martin CJ Nkwizi Khomotso says fear of money. And the lady who's going to address 7 fears today on Expresso is none other than the fairy godmother, Donna McCullum. Good morning. Welcome to Expresso.
Good morning, Liesl. So lovely to be here again.
7 fears, and you've heard some from our viewers, things that they fear when it comes to living your dreams.
Yeah, so there are 7 big fears that stop people from living their dreams, Liesl. The first is the power of authority or not fulfilling the wishes of authority. Which is like, you know, if you're scared about what your parents are going to say or what the police are going to think or whatever. The next
yeah, that just sounds criminal. It's like a criminal activity. No. What parents think.
Yeah, exactly. The next fear is the fear of failure that one of your viewers mentioned. What happens if I fail? Another fear people have is, what happens if I don't know enough? How could I possibly do that? Do I really know enough to do that? The next fear is the fear of money that was mentioned. So how could I live the life of my dreams? Who's going to pay the bills? How is that going to work? The next fear was my big fear in becoming a fairy godmother, and that was loss of respect of a loved one. I was really concerned about what my mother was going to think about me being a fairy godmother. You know? The 6th fear is rejection by society, which is a fear that's becoming less and less. As our society becomes more and more accepting and more equal, that becomes less and less. And the last fear is the fear of ill health or the lack of physical well-being, which is one of the fears that Leanne might have had as she was like jumping and bungee jumping
Absolutely,
recently.
yeah.
You know, that's one of those fears.
Now, how do you address these fears? I mean, you've got 7 of them. Everyone has them. Everyone goes through them. It's the same challenges we all face.
Yeah, so the big thing when you really get clear, as a fairy godmother, I help people get clear on their dreams, their visions, their goals for their life. And what people do is when they get clear on their dreams and goals, often fear comes up, and it's one of these 7 fears. Now, not everyone feels the same fear. Sometimes it's a fear of failure, sometimes it's the money fear. So the first thing to do is be aware of the fear that you're feeling. And how you become aware that you're in fear is like that you're not taking action. You're not actually doing things around your dreams and goals. So the first step is when you're not taking action. In fact, procrastination, Liesl, is a very, very long word for fear. So if you find yourself procrastinating, then you're in fear. Go through this list and think, okay, what is the fear that I'm feeling? That's the first step, awareness. Then the next step is do a written exercise, and I always recommend doing it as a written exercise because the fear lives in the head and it's so clever that it'll try and rationalize itself. So do a written exercise. If I take this action, what is the best thing that can happen and what is the worst thing that can happen? And what you'll find is when you write it down, the best thing that can happen is amazing, and the worst thing that can happen is actually never as bad as the fear that you feel. And it's often the way things are right now. It's often the status quo.
Yes. I mean, you see it there, it doesn't look as bad.
Yeah, I mean, you've done a number of things, right, where you've wanted to stretch yourself. I mean, all the crazy, like, doozy canoe things that you go and do. And I'm sure you feel some sense of fear.
Yes, you do. You feel a fear of failure. Everyone feels that. You feel like a sense you're not going to finish.
Yeah, or what happens if I get sick, or what happens if I injure myself, or what happens... But you do it anyway. And because what is the best thing that can happen? Oh, I do the doozy, and it's wonderful, and it's amazing. What's the worst thing that can happen? Okay, I might sprain my ankle, or something might... Okay, it's not that bad, and you do it anyway.
So you recommend that you focus on the positive and the negative. What's the best and the worst?
You look at the best and the worst, because when you look at the worst, it's never as bad as the fear that you feel. And that helps you get over it.
Well, Donna, thank you so much for chatting to us about your fears. Now, I think we might have cleared up about living in fear. If you do have any fears that you're still facing, why not post it on our Facebook page, Expresso Morning Show, SABC3. Donna will go on there and reply to some of your fears as well. We have got a great competition that's running at the moment with Bobtail called Top Dog.
Yes.
And I'm sure a lot of people fear entering their dog into this competition because Bobtail's looking for their next big dog that's going to star in their ad campaign. And Ewan's got all the details. Stay with Expresso and SABC3.